Tonight, another Saskatchewan school division's budget shortfall leads to fewer teachers next fall. Also, the Vatican reveals more details about Pope Francis's trip to Canada next month. Plus,
if I can make First Nations people proud and tell our story authentically, that's all I ever really wanted to do.
A local Dene performer and social media personality will be the first queen from Saskatchewan to compete in Canada's drag race.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, June 23rd, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. As Saskatchewan high school students are writing finals and divisions are finalizing their budgets, Regina's separate school division is announcing cuts. Regina Catholic is reporting a $3.2 million deficit. It's already said it will charge parents for lunchroom supervision. And now, more than a handful of in-person teaching and librarian positions will be axed. It will also be eliminating 7 online teaching jobs and transitioning those teachers back into the classroom. It has the opposition raising concern. The NDP says the Premier and Education Minister have been misrepresenting how much reserve money school divisions really have.
Scott Moe has the audacity to jet set to New York during an affordability crisis and then stand in an airport blaming school boards for not balancing their books. Scott Moe is starving our school boards of funding and then turning around and scolding them for being broke.
The NDP is asking the government for an emergency $50 million in funding for school divisions. If money is available through windfall resource revenue, the government says it will assess which additional supports are needed. The pandemic has posed challenges for many, including students, especially in the early days of isolation and online learning. It turns out some have fallen behind when it comes to key skills like math and literacy. As Deanna Sumanak-Johnson reports, educators are working hard to help them get back up to speed.
This 11-year-old already has big dreams. Isabella Creel is hoping to take an international business program in high school, then attend university abroad. But she's hit a big obstacle. Her math mark plummeted this year.
So this one is fine, this one's fine.
Mother and daughter suspect it's a result of the cumulative disruption of the pandemic.
The first report card this year went from 78 to 40, and to me that was really alarming.
I don't think it's really fair how fast we do one thing and then once we finally get used to it, we quickly move to another.
Isabella is not alone. Last year, a Quebec survey of elementary and secondary students found that 1/4 of them were failing math, far higher than usual. And in many other regions of the country, students' performance in math and another key subject, literacy, lags behind the pre-pandemic levels. This education professor looked at Alberta's standardized literacy tests from last year and found that some students in the youngest grades were 8 to 12 months behind where they should be. This school year, the gap deepened even further.
Many classes went online. Many teachers were sick and they were replaced by substitute teachers, which disturbed the learning and the sequence of teaching.
The solution, he says, intervention classes, like the ones he designed, already happening in Alberta schools.
Wet, water, and wish.
Specialized teachers like Lisa Michael meet with students who need help 3 to 4 times a week for about 35 minutes.
If students don't have the reading and writing skills, when they move into the higher grades, they lack confidence. And I've seen students that receive intervention get really excited about their learning and have those aha moments of, I can do this. Oh, wow, this is awesome. It's getting easier for me. Okay, who knows this one?
Just some of the ways kids are catching up so they can achieve their full potential. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
The Vatican has released new details about the Pope's upcoming visit to Canada next month. Recent health concerns for the 85-year-old pontiff had cast some doubt over the trip. The Pope had postponed trips to Lebanon and Africa over ongoing mobility issues. But as Olivia Stefanovic reports, his Canadian tour is going ahead as planned.
At last unofficial Vatican schedule, announcing the stops Pope Francis will make in Canada.
With great joy, I hear this news this morning. I was very concerned and worried, of course, about the Holy Father.
Holy Father, what an honor.
The announcement comes after weeks of speculation. Pope Francis may be too ill to make the trip.
This is clearly something he wants to do. He's determined to do it. And so we are really pleased, really excited to be able to welcome him.
The Pope will start his tour in Alberta, where he will visit the site of a former residential school and likely issue the first papal apology on Canadian soil.
How do you say you're sorry for just, thousands of Native kids that were, that were moved from their homes and forced to go to residential school?
Some survivors say the visit is too little, too late.
Residential school, I hate to get emotional, but it ruined my life for a long, long time. Really made me disconnected to my to our culture and to our language.
Many hope the Pope won't come empty-handed, and that those survivors who want to meet the pontiff will have their travel costs and accommodations paid for.
We'll be making sure that they can do it in a way that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg.
With financial support still to be determined, work is underway to revamp the sites chosen for the papal visit, including the construction of a new road from the shrine to the waters of the Lac St. Anne pilgrimage site. After Western Canada, the Pope will head east to address the nation at the Citadel in Quebec City, hold a mass at the National Shrine of St. Anne de Beaupré, concluding his trip in Iqaluit by meeting survivors, youth, and elders. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, the day started out so nice, but parts of the province are experiencing some really active weather this hour. Meteorologist Christy Kleiman-Haga is here with the latest. Christy, what's going on?
Well, we have been seeing those watches and warnings popping up, dropping off as these storms progress. We did even see a few tornado warnings. Let's take a look at our satellite and radar now. You are seeing, again, very strong cells, and you can see those storms evolving as we speak. Warnings dropping off and being added. Those areas in red indicating severe thunderstorm warnings. In those regions, seeing the risk of very strong winds up to nickel or even in some areas toonie-sized hail, as well as heavy, heavy downpours. All those radar pockets, anywhere you're seeing those bright pinks, are where you're seeing the heaviest of that rainfall moving in. Now, as you take your wider look at the picture, it's only a snapshot, those storms. We are seeing more developing around the Melfort area, a little bit further north as well, and many areas of Saskatchewan under severe thunderstorm watches at this hour. You can see that yellow indicating more severe weather is possible over the next few hours. So it is an active afternoon. We'll dive into more of those watches and warnings when I come back in just a little bit. Sam?
All right, thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
A man wanted for attempted murder in connection with a shooting in La Ronge is now in custody. Regina police arrested 29-year-old Terrence Daigneault last night. RCMP say someone opened fire on their officers in La Ronge on Sunday, hitting a patrol car several times. There are still arrest warrants out for 22-year-old Celine Charles and for 36-year-old Alan Sanderson in connection to the incident. First Nations leaders have even weighed in on the matter. The FSIN is asking those suspects to turn themselves in before anyone is hurt or killed. Regina police are revving up traffic safety with 2 new motorcycles. All equipped, the bikes are estimated to cost around $110,000. It's being paid for by the Combined Traffic Services Division, which is jointly funded by SGI and the province. The Regina Police Service says this addition to their fleet will help nab more distracted drivers.
We typically drive a police vehicle that's very visible for a reason, so we can get to emergency calls quickly, and so that the public recognizes that it's a police emergency vehicle trying to get somewhere. That is not something that helps catch distracted drivers. Also, the elevated seating position for the officers on these motorcycles and the nimbleness will help in that goal of reducing our distracted driving numbers in Saskatchewan.
The RCMP's motorcycle squad issued nearly 4,000 tickets last year. More than a quarter of those were for people using their cell phones while driving. A performer and social media personality from Saskatoon will be the first queen from Saskatchewan to compete in Canada's drag race starting in mid-July. Danae and Two-Spirit Shelazon Leroux is about to be the representation their younger self always wanted to see.
You hope to make your people proud, you know? You hope to make the people back home support you. I'm so excited to start this journey with you all. I'm a drag artist, Indigenous, queer creative. When I first saw it was on TV, RuPaul's Drag Race, the original series, which is based in the US. And I saw these people who celebrated themselves. I have loved it since I was a kid, yes. You could say I'm a fan. I've watched just about every season. When you're given that confirmation, it's a beautiful moment. It's like, all right, we made it. To be the first representation of a province in this country is a lot of pressure. If I can make First Nations people proud and tell our story authentically, that's all I ever really wanted to do. What people count out, especially if you're not from a huge city like Vancouver or Toronto, they just don't think there's a vibrant scene of queer artists or drag queens here. There's a ton of talent in this city, and to be able to be that first representation of it is such an honor.
And the ancestors of many men and women who walk among you on these lands today found themselves marching across their own land.
A rare performance at the Provincial Archives of Saskatchewan for many distinguished guests this afternoon, including the Lieutenant Governor. Folklorist Shayna Jones shared a performance of the Black and Rural Saskatchewan project she's been touring across the province. The project aims to seek out, honor, and theatrically showcase stories from rural-based Black people and to defy the monolith of what matters to Black lives. We'll be back after the break. As the federal government moves to ban single-use plastic, some businesses are getting ahead of the regulations. One of them is a farming operation in southwestern Ontario that's taking the wraps off its cucumbers. Chris Ensing has the details.
Essex County is greenhouse country. 250 acres of it belongs to Westmoreland Topline Farms.
This is where the raw material comes from.
They grow millions of cucumbers plucked from these vines and processed on site, each one shrink wrapped in plastic.
These plastic rolls are for the triple wrap, right? The plastic is there to hold the respiration of the cucumber in, basically to lock in its freshness and keep it from oxidizing and spoiling prematurely.
That ends this week. A new production line sends produce through what's essentially a car wash for cukes. Plastic wrap replaced by this spray, an edible, tasteless mist that's plant-based, developed in California.
What exactly is going on that cucumber? The beautiful thing about Appeal is that we're actually using materials that are already found in the skins, the seeds, the pulp of plants. A typical English cucumber equates to about 1.6 grams of plastic. If you were to actually do the math on all the cucumbers that are consumed in Canada, it's about 800 metric tons worth of plastic, or 2 billion plastic straws.
We've gone from one of the most complained about items in the produce aisle to now a completely plastic-free cucumber.
The nonprofit environmental foundation Sierra Club applauds the move, which was consumer-driven.
The problem is, even if you want to be a quote-unquote good consumer, do your part, it's like a lot of the times you can't avoid plastic. It's not realistic for you. So that's really where like the government intervention comes in.
Seedless English cucumbers without the plastic now available at grocery stores in Canada, an industry first, and the range of plastic-free produce could grow.
When we can do our part, we feel good about it.
Chris Ensing, CBC News, Leamington.
This weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. The exclusive export event is back.
And meteorologist Christy Kleimenhage joins me now. The weather is interesting, to say the least.
It is ever evolving, and we're seeing warnings popping up and disappearing. Right now, another tornado warning now in effect. So here's a look at our satellite and radar image just to give you an idea of how fast these storms are moving, rolling across much of western Saskatchewan and now in central Saskatchewan as well. So let's take a closer look at that cell responsible for that tornado warning. You can see it looks relatively small just to the north of Strasbourg. The RM of Last Mountain Valley, the RM of Mount Hope, and the RM of Refford are under that tornado warning. So if you are in the vicinity, do head indoors. Take immediate shelter in the lowest level of your house, away from all windows and outdoor walls, as this is a very strong storm, potentially producing a tornado. Now, it's the only one of the many warnings we have in place, thanks in part to our hot weather. It has been a 30-degree day out there across much of southeastern Saskatchewan, and warm temperatures as well in central Saskatchewan, moist conditions as well, and windy conditions now developing as these storms progress. You can see winds gusting into the 70s around the Swift Current area, and expecting those strong winds to continue through the rest of the evening. Now, taking a look at our current watches and warnings, you can see a real smattering of warnings. Those red warnings now popping in, a new warning just for extreme southern Saskatchewan. Those are all of your severe thunderstorm warnings, where you are seeing the potential for up to Toonie-sized hail in many of them, heavy downpours, strong winds, and again, that bright pink spot is that tornado warning that is now in effect. Everywhere you see in yellow being a thunderstorm watch, severe thunderstorm watch, meaning we could see more of these cells popping up as the evening progresses. It's all thanks to this low pressure system that's appeared over Alberta. As it continues across Saskatchewan, you will see those storms continuing, and then steady rain in behind it, but it is moving out fairly quickly. We're going to see a little break for the end of the weekend, but before it does leave, it will drop some potent weather for us, not only today, but into the day tomorrow. Here's a look at our rainfall accumulations for this system. You can see a fairly narrow swath of rain through central Saskatchewan, but if you're in the middle of that bullseye, you are seeing potentially very high amounts, up to 30, 40, maybe even 50 millimeters. So if you're in central Saskatchewan, be prepared for a soggy day tomorrow. Further south, maybe some showers later in the day, but otherwise missing most of the heavy rain for this system. Into Regina over the next 7 days, a perfect example of missing most of the rain for tomorrow. 23 degrees and a mix of sun and cloud. Showers into the overnight into your Saturday. Temperatures will cut down in behind that system, but you could see those showers lingering into the morning. 19 for the high, some windy weather to kick off the weekend as that system clears out, and then sunshine for the end of the weekend and back to the hot temperatures early next week. Into Saskatoon, cooler tomorrow, and again, showers especially later in the day, and showers continuing Saturday morning. Temperatures starting to rebound by your Sunday, temperatures up to about 24 by Sunday, and it looks like next week will be a warmer one for at least the beginning. Again, some wet weather possible later next week, but definitely the bulk of our active weather coming in the next couple of days, and in some places the next couple of hours, Sam.
Almost a Goldilocks forecast next week, though, that perfect sweet spot where you're actually comfortable outdoors and not melting.
Yeah, get outside when you can enjoy it.
Yes, thanks, Christy.
You're welcome.
Anytime we can get our youth involved in more aspects of our community, it's very, very important. For our grade 7 kids, as they enter into grade 8 and they begin taking the bus more actively as they enter into high school, it gives some comfort and familiarity with that form of transportation.
How cute is this? This new bus art was unveiled today in Saskatoon. It was part of a transit contest open to kids in grades 3 to 7, and they had to reflect the theme active transportation. These winning pieces were chosen through a collaboration with the Ramey Modern. The winners come from a Cole Alvin Buckwald and Lakeridge schools. The pieces will be displayed on the side of 10 Saskatoon transit buses throughout the summer. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. It was another frustrating day for people trying to get passports at some offices across the country. Would-be travelers are continuing to face long lines, and recently some have resorted to waiting outside offices for days. Ottawa says staff is being added, but admits the situation needs to improve. Sarah Levitt reports.
It's become a familiar sight outside of Passport Canada's Guy Favreau office. A monster lineup, rain, and frustrated would-be travelers.
2 days and a half waiting in the line, under the rain.
Florent Cohen's story isn't unique among this crowd. Days of waiting to get his 4-month-old a passport so he can go to France and meet his grandparents.
I can't apply for a passport before he's born.
Today, another attempt by Passport employees at better organization.
Yesterday was a long lineup with not much information. This morning, they went through the whole lineup, informing that agents would pass by, get the information to better triage people.
Who will finally take the responsibility of this monumental Liberal fiasco?
In the House of Commons,
I understand the frustration of Canadians.
the minister responsible for passports carefully defensive, explaining the backlog of applications. Gould notes the triage system is being used now in Montreal and will be in place across Canada in the days to come.
85% of those are new passports, so first-time passport holders, and of that, 43% are for children.
A child's application requires the permission of both parents. New hires and a streamlined printing process should ease the wait, the government says. Cohen was meant to fly today, but rescheduled the flight for Saturday. Now, though, he's moved down on the triage priority list.
They don't have an answer to give us, so we are there expecting for something, and we don't know if it will happen or not.
A waiting game with no clear end in sight. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
And Christy is back with one last look at tonight's weather.
And Sam, still some active weather to come tonight, especially across central Saskatchewan, but southern Saskatchewan as well. Here's a look at Regina's forecast. It looks like 18 degrees at midnight and partly cloudy, but the risk of a thunderstorm before then. By tomorrow morning, you will likely see a few clouds lingering, 17 degrees, and a little breezy through the day. In Saskatoon, you will see temperatures at about 14 at midnight, and again, the risk of thunderstorm activity before you get to that clearing. By tomorrow morning, peaks of sunshine, temperatures at about 13 degrees, but remember, we do have active weather tonight, a tornado warning in effect for the arm of Last Mountain Valley, arm of Mount Hope, and the arm of Refford. In that area, there is a cell potentially producing a tornado, Sam. So if anyone is in that area or in the vicinity, do take shelter and pay attention to those watches and warnings. Sam?
All right, thank you. Thanks, Christy. And before we leave you, something to put a smile on your face. Students at Prairie Sky School in Regina are coming together to help the community.
Standing like a tree with my roots dug down. My branch is wide and open.
This morning, kids from the school were singing songs, enjoying the end of the school year and their hard work. This dusty edge of a parking lot in the Lakeview neighborhood is slowly transforming into a lush garden, complete with fruit bushes and a painted mural backdrop. Along the way, kids are getting a chance to learn artistic expression and about plants.
Just stuff about how they grow and what they need to survive, and it's actually really cool.
There's just been such rich learning going on, both at the kindergarten level and for the year 5 and 6 students as well. I think our Garden Buddies time just really brings out the best in everyone.
The food forest was created in honor of Catherine Verrill, a late Regina teacher and activist. She died last year, and this project is one of her many family projects kickstarted to keep her legacy of promoting food sovereignty alive. And that is it for us tonight. For News Anytime, you can head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. Right now, the Riders are trailing the Alouettes 20-3 in the second quarter. Glenn Reed will be back with the highlights and more news at 11. We're back tomorrow at 5:30. Thank you for watching and have a great night.